I don't see color. So you can't see me. You can't see the struggles we've been through. Our Excellency, I don't see color. It's not a late phrase to use. If you don't understand, I'd be happy to break it down for you. When I see black, I see excellence. I see Madam C.J. Walker. I see the 44th president. When I see black, I see the blueprint. Only they try to copy, and y'all saw how the shoes fit. Y'all heard black don't crack? It's not just about looks. Even when they put pressure on us, we shine like diamonds and leave them shook. They had a head start, but they still couldn't win the race. The color that you couldn't see, we're in a 9.58. This color that's so translucent to you had to fight for educations, HBCU. See, Ruby, she did what not many of us could do. She created the bridges for us to cross into integrated schools. They said we were ignorant, that we couldn't do it, but we created the very thing that y'all stay cool with. But they don't tell you about that. They said the white man did that. They can't let you know that you can be young, successful, and black. I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for the black excellence that came forth, because of Malcolm, Angela Davis, and so many more. Now I can see color, and my color is magnificent. I can only thank God because our melanin was heaven sent. Please rise for the singing of the Black National Anthem by the Northeast Choir, directed by Miss Bescher and accompanied by Dr. Fluella.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Black History Month Assembly. We're so glad y'all could join us. I'm Miri.
I'm Perla. Layla.
And we're from the Black History Student Association. Today, we are here to celebrate Black excellence and achievements of all people in the African diaspora of the past and present, and every one of y'all in the crowd will be the future.
Black people have learned to excel in many avenues, including the entertainment industry, like Beyonce, in the classroom like Katherine Johnson, and many others like Surya Bunley, who has thrived in the sports industry. I mean, even when we couldn't get a higher education, we made our own place to get educated called the HBCU, which stands for Historically Black College or University. Howard University, Morehouse, Spelman, just to name a few, produced great minds from Chadwick Boseman to Zora Neale Hurston to Martin Luther King Jr. We created our own network called BET, Black Entertainment Television, where we were able to unify as one and enjoy Black movies, music, and TV shows.
Even though we were stripped from our cultural origins and forced to assimilate in other places of the world, we still stayed connected through the way we dance, the food we make, and the way we talk. Throughout the trials and tribulations, we stuck together like a family and persevered through.
Black is beautiful, Black is perfect, and Black is excellent. Next up, we will be having the Northeast Brass Band performing We Shall Overcome, directed by Mr. Henry. Beautiful performance. Next is the Northeast Choir with another selection, A Change Is Gonna Come, directed by Mrs. Betcher and accompanied by Dr. Fluellen.
I was born by the river, in a little tent, oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. A change is gonna come, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. Oh, oh, oh. But I know a change is gonna come. Yes, it will. Times at a talk. Oh, 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 but now I think I'm able, oh, oh. It's been a long, sad, but I know a change is gonna come. Yes, it will. A change is gonna come. Yes, it will. Sing with me. A change is gonna come. Yes, it will.
Libaba, everybody, Libaba. That was an amazing performance. Next, we're going to watch a video by Marcus Garvey, created by Shazida.
Hi, I'm Shanzida and I'm the host of the podcast. In this 3-minute podcast, I'm going to talk about a black history figure named Marcus Garvey. As we all might know about the loss of people like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, and others. But do we know about Marcus Garvey? So let me tell you about Marcus Garvey. He was a black nationalist. He was born in 1887 in Jamaica and he's not even from Africa. His father was a stonemason and his mother was a domestic servant. Garvey began developing his broad sense of world at an early age. He went to London for education. When he returned from 2 years of education from London to Jamaica, he started the Universal Negro Improvement Association, also known as the UNIA, in New York, which is the single largest black organization ever. The goal of the organization was to spread message of black nationalism and eventual return to Africa of all people of African descent. So while in New York, he authored the Declaration of Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World, which was ratified at the convention of the UNIA at Madison Square Garden in 1920. It was during this time that Garvey was also elected provincial president of Africa. And through the UNIA, Garvey pushed to support the Back to Africa movement, and he created the Black Star Line to act as the black-owned passenger line that would carry patrons to Africa. Marcus Garvey was promoter of Pan-Africanism, and he believed in racial separatism, as the white society would never accept black Africans as equal, which also later made him a very controversial figure at that time. His movement was a manifestation of an idea known as Pan-Africanism. The Pan-African flag was created by him, and he designed it realizing that every race has a flag but the black. So the flag consists of 3 equal horizontal bands colored red, black, and green. The red represents the blood that unites all people of black African ancestry, and the black represents the people whose existence as a nation though not as a nation state. The green represents the abundant and vibrant natural wealth of Africa, which is the motherland. Altogether, it represents the liberation in America. And now we can see that lots of African flags are based on the Pan-African flag. So Marcus Garvey movement fell apart because it was too high and because it faced several criticism, and not only from whites but also from black as well. Hence, Garvey's idea inspired black nationalists of 1960s, like Malcolm X and countless others including Nelson Mandela and Bob Marley. So he was not only trying to make movements but also trying to inspire people. And that's 3 minutes. See you next time with a new information video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy.
Next, we will have the NHS Orchestra. They will be performing Go Down Moses, directed by Mr. A and arranged by Dr. Fluel.
Next, we will have a video about Rosa Parks created by Mia, Bisal, Achasa, Aya, and Elizabeth.
This video will be about Rosa Parks. For many people, the first thing that comes to mind when they think of her would be refusing to give up her seat on the bus in 1955. Many people think of her as the first black woman to give up her seat, which is in fact not true. There was another woman before her named Claudette Colvin. She was 15 years old when it happened. For her, it actually happened about 9 months before Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks actually had many other accomplishments tied under her belt besides refusing to give up her seat.
To start off, she was actually an investigator on crimes regarding topics like the killing of colored people, sexual assault, and unjustified accusations against black people for crimes. This was when she was involved with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, as known as the NAACP. Her main goal was to give colored people the opportunity to defend themselves in court, whether it be about sexual assault or false accusations. She wanted them to be able to get the justice they deserve for their struggles to be heard. Parks also worked under John Conyers, who was a congressman. Both of them worked together in Detroit with the goal of bringing the city to equality. One of the things they strived to work on was homelessness in the city. This led to them actually finding homes for many homeless people in Detroit. Rosa also founded, along with friends of hers, an institute named the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute for Self-Development. The job of this organization was to educate people, specifically people on the younger side, about topics regarding the fight for civil rights as well as the enslavement of Africans. They did this all through bus tours, and an interesting part was that they even took people to see the Underground Railroad sites around the country. So you see, there are a number of things Rosa Parks had done before her passing in 2005, and she sets a great example to the people who want to stand up for themselves and others. We hope that the next time you hear the name Rosa Parks, you think of a woman who was an activist, investigator, and an inspiring figure for all those around her.
Many of the dances that are done in the Americas within the Black community are connected to the dances Africans performed in their communities before being taken into slavery. Not only did these moves survive cultural genocide, they thrived and resulted in new traditions being formed, from hip-hop and bachata to merengue and bomba, and of course, the wine. Next up, we will see a dance performance that highlights moves from the Caribbean with a dance by Shakia Phillip.
Soca Kingdom, Soca Kingdom, Soca Kingdom. Who ready? We now start. Get ready, day. Set up on start. Meet we on the way. We lining up, ready to charge ahead. Forward is not enough. I want you to jump up, trample the ground now. We headed to downtown. Get all of the railing. So much woman are trailing. Follow the big sun. Get ready to mash down. All in the stadium. The whole of the kingdom. Come down. Time to show me your waves. Time to get out of light. You're born and ready for praise. Come on, wine in the roadway. All in front of the gateway. All in front of the people. This way. This is the kingdom. Como te llamas, señorita? Bienvenida, Trinidad y Tobago. Te estaba mirando nada hace mucho tiempo. Unfortunately, that's all the Spanish that I know. But I wanna hold you, hold you, hold you, hold you, hold you. Girl, I wanna hold you, hold you, hold you, hold you, hold you. I wanna hold on tight while I know I said it and I'll let you go. So let me baila, baila, baila till we can't baila. Step in line.
Come, shorty, walk it for me. I'm standing up to say cause your lips them look so good like them teacher. Next time you drop it for me. Oh la la mama, put to it. So you want me with your style. The rhythm you always have like to lay. Cause I must get that taste on your waist, mama, before I die. Just give me where you never kill nobody, don't be shy. I know all of them who watch it, they go try. It's carnival. We went in with we bought you 200 girls to 20 man, nobody cannot stop this. And if you have no money, you use up all your profit. And they can't afford to buy a cooler, well go buy a bucket. So talk it up and stop it. Boy, you're afraid of that, go broke it. Just free up yourself and drink it. No matter what we put in, hold it. When I cool up, look at the vibes, look at the nice, look at the seas, look at the rocks, look at the singles, look at the bars, look at the sunny water, blood. Drink whatever you like, people drink whatever you like. Every ride is nice, every song is nice, everything is nice. Fuck it, it's carnival.
have a presentation by Bianca Jones, representing Sports Marketing SLC. Next up, we will have Amia Harris singing Feeling Good by Nina Simone. Let's give her a round of applause. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. Running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for Dragonflies out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies are having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that's what I mean. And this old world is an old world, and an old world for me. When you shine, you know how I feel. Sons of the pine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. Next, we will have a performance by three of our Afro-Dominican students. They will be performing Yo Soy Afro-Latino by me, Melina. Please give it up for Lester Rodriguez Nunez, Rainy Rodriguez, and Christy Ciriel Santos.
Yo soy Afro-Latina. Girl, shut up. What the heck are you talking about? What is an Afro-Latina anyways? You ain't black. You straight from the Dominican Republic. Yes, I'm from Quisqueya La Bella. I am from that beautiful isla with the warm sands and blue beaches. I'm from that beautiful sunsets in el campo de mis abuelos. I come from Plátano con Salami. habichuela y carne. My first language is not English. My lengua es Spanish, the language of the conquistadores. But yeah, you wanna know what? You are right. I am straight from La República Dominicana.
But I also come from kidnapped black slaves, brought to my Bella Isla to work the fields because my lovely Tainos' backs couldn't take it anymore. I come from slave ships full with black men and women not knowing where they were being taken. I come from the lashes of slave masters in Hispaniola. I come from the sugarcane fields filled with exploited black slaves. I seem to come from a society that celebrates Cristobal Colon and his discovery of the New World. But seriously, what discovery? My people had already been on the island for 5,000 years. Señor Colon, thanks to you discovering us, my beautiful Tainos have ceased to exist. Together with your ambitions and brutality, you brought your deathly diseases. And of course, you had to bring the black slaves because who was gonna dig our gold for you?
Who was going to work your fields? I am the essence of Tainos. I can't really claim Taino ancestry because by the end of the 16th century, most were dead. I'm definitely not claiming European white. No, gracias. Besides, look at me. Do I look white to you? By the 18th century, majority of the population in Hispaniola were black slaves. I come from black slaves. You cannot tell me what I am or what I am not. I may not be your definition of Afro-Black, but
Yo soy Afro-Latino, te guste o no.
Let's talk about the author. So the author's name is Aimee Malek. She was born in La Isla República Dominicana and migrated to the United States at the age of 13. She is a graduate from college in Western Massachusetts and concentrated in sociology and Latina studies. For her senior thesis, she developed an ethnography on internalized oppression within the Dominican community, exploring issues of racial prejudice and homophobia. She is currently a case manager at a nonprofit housing agency in Boston, working with families who were previously homeless and are now transitioning either into permanent housing or have some type of housing assistance. She's interested in working with the Latin community in New York City, more specifically with families and immigrants who will be pursuing a master's degree of social work in order to accomplish a goal of working with these communities.
Those were all amazing performances. Even though the bell is wrong, I asked y'all, can you please remain in your seats out of respect for the performers and so you can continue watching the performance. But up next, we will have a documentary from the Avid SLC.
Gordon Parks, one of the greatest photographers of the 20th century and all-around creative savant, was a humanitarian with a deep commitment to social justice. He left behind an exceptional body of work that documents American life and culture from the early 1940s into the 2000s with a focus on racial relations, poverty, civil rights, and urban life. Parks was also a distinguished composer, author, and filmmaker who interacted with many of the leading people of his era, from politicians and artists to athletes and other celebrities.
Born into poverty and segregation in Fort Scott, Kansas in 1912, Parks was drawn to photography as a young man when he saw images of migrant workers taken by Farm Security Administration photographers in a magazine. After buying a camera at a local pawn shop, he taught himself how to use it. Despite his lack of professional training, he won the Julius Rosenwald Fellowship in 1942. This led to a position with the photography section of the FSA in Washington, D.C., and later the Office of War Information. Working for these agencies, which were then the Chronicling the Nation's Social Conditions, Parks quickly developed a personal style that will make him among the most celebrated photographers of his era. His extraordinary pictures allowed him to break the color line in the professional photography, while he created remarkably expressive images that consistently explored the social and economic impact of poverty, racism, and other forms of discrimination.
In 1944, Parks left the OWI to work for the Standard Oil Company's photo documentary project. Around this time, he was also a freelance photographer for Glamour and Ebony, which expanded his photographic practice and further developed his distinct style. His 1948 photo essay on the life of a Harlem gang leader won him widespread acclaim and the position as the first African American staff photographer for Life.
His most famous images, for instance American Gothic from 1942 and Emerging Man 1952, capture the essence of his activism and humanitarianism and have become iconic, defining their generation. They also helped rally support for the burgeoning civil rights movement, for which Parks himself was a tireless advocate as well as a documentarian. Parks would remain at the magazine for 2 decades, covering subjects ranging from racism and poverty to fashion and entertainment, and taking memorable pictures of such figures as Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., and Stokely Carmichael. Parks was a modern-day Renaissance man whose creative practice extended beyond photography to encompass fiction and nonfiction writing, musical composition, filmmaking, and painting. In 1969, he became the first African American to write and direct a major Hollywood studio feature film, The Leaning Tree, based on his best-selling semi-autobiographical novel. His next film, Shaft, 1971, was a critical box office success, inspiring a number of sequels. Shaft, based on a 1970 detective novel with the same name by Ernest Tidyman, was directed by Parks and starred Richard Roundtree as John Shaft. It became a major hit that spawned a series of films that would be labeled as blaxploitation. The blaxploitation genre was one in which images of lower-class blacks being involved with drugs, violence, and women were exploited for commercially successful films featuring black actors, and was popular with a section of the black community. Parks' skills for settings was confirmed by Shaft with its portrayal of the super cool leather-clad black private detective hired to find the kidnapped daughter of the Harlem racketeer.
Parks also directed the 1972 sequel, Shaft's Big Score, in which the protagonist finds himself caught in the middle of rival gangs of racketeers. Parks also composed the entire movie, which highlighted his talent as a musicianal composer. Parks' other directorial credits include The Super Cops, a 1974 action-adventure film directed by Gordon Parks and starring Ron Ledbetter and David Shelby. The film is also based on the book The Super Cops, a true story of cops called Batman and Robin by A.L.H. Whitmore. His last film, Leadbelly, was a biographical film of the blues musician Huddie Ledbetter. Parks also published 20 books including memoirs, novels, poetry, and volumes on the photographic technique.
Parks paid tribute to more recent generations by capturing the tastemakers of hip-hop in a 1998 photograph, giving a nod to the 1958 iconic photograph, A Great Day in Harlem. The original photograph captured the jazz superstars of the day and was taken in front of a brownstone in Harlem by Art Kane for Esquire magazine. In 1995, Parks retook the photo with the remaining jazz musicians from the original shoot for Life magazine. In 1998, Parks shot A Great Day in Hip Hop, tribute to hip hop's golden era for XXL magazine, honoring the impact of hip hop on society, paralleling it with the tremendous impact of jazz in the same way.
Parks spent much of the last 3 decades of his life involving his style, and he continued working until his death in 2006. He was recognized with more than 50 honorary decorates, and among his numerous rewards was the National Medal of Arts, which he received in 1988. Today, archives of his work reside at a number of institutions, including the Gordon Parks Foundation, Pleasantville, New York. the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott, Kansas, and Wichita State University in Wichita, and the Library of Congress, the National Archives, and the Smithsonian Institution, all in Washington, D.C.
We salute you, Gordon Parks, for your pioneering work in the film and video field.
Who's the camp that won't cop out when there's danger all about? Chef! Right on.
We love to see the creativity. Great job. So historically, Black colleges and universities are public and private institutions that were established before the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in the United States. HBCUs gifted Black people with access to education, which was denied to them during slavery and segregation, as they were not allowed to attend white colleges and universities. At these schools, a unique style of band and majorette culture emerged. At halftime, audience members rushed back to their seats for the real show. Drum majors are stars, of course, but sharing the spotlight are smiling limber dancers with moves so big, even nosebleeds can see every detail. They prance alongside marching bands or in the stands, then run through pre-choreographed 8 counts. The sequence is first started by a single dancer in the front, followed by the rest of them. Stadiums have fallen silent to soak in the glittering costumes and bold flourishes in that vein. We will now have our own marching band and majorettes as they